Okay, so what we're going to do today is we are going to orchestrate a classic. So I have essentially just picked a old hymn slash spiritual called Give Me Jesus. And I'm going to go through it. I'm actually going to be reading the chart of, or at least one like hymnal version of it. That's sort of a reduced, simple version to try to get a basic layer of the orchestration down. So one of the things we need to consider, I think, is making sure the melody is recognizable. And so for this, I might just go ahead and do flute, I think. Let me play through this melody and make sure it's actually reasonable. I think it is in this key. You know, I actually didn't super love that, and I'm wondering if it might be more interesting or better in the clarinet. And if I do that, I actually might want multiple clarinets. So let me try this. Yeah, I think I like it in the clarinets there. So I've got a tempo here, and if you're curious, all I did was I loaded up a template, but not actually a template. I actually loaded up an empty session, and in the empty session, I just imported tracks from my template. So I have my orchestra, I have my reverbs, my groups, my routing and stuff that I typically have. So I don't have to think about it anymore. I have everything that I need. So I'm gonna start on measure 1, but notice that this has a pickup, so I'm actually gonna start on 0. I'm going to turn this up a little bit so I can really hear everything that's going on. And as I'm doing this, take note, when I'm playing, I'm being musical with my mod wheel. I'm trying to make the notes actually happen, or make the musicality happen. So let's just go for it. Yeah, see, I already didn't like that because I stopped the note there. And if I'm repeating, that's kind of tricky. So we're going to have to figure that out in the orchestration, how we make that realistic. But I think I'm not going to hit that G again. I think I'm just going to play it through. So it's going to be 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yep. Okay, so we've got that first, I'll actually keep that modulation information there. That first thing there, I'm reading my chart, and so that is actually, does an interesting, the page is just doing weird stuff there. So this is actually cutting that to half. And then we move from there, and it stays on that. Actually, it does technically stay on 3, and then it moves down. So again, I'm not writing the music here. The music already exists. I'm just orchestrating someone else's music, basically. Yeah. So I forgot to hit record there, but that's not a big deal. Cubase has retrospective recording, so I'm going to go ahead and put those there together. And that melody alone, let's see. So it starts around, I can go ahead and actually set my project setting right there. Set time code at cursor, I think it's here. I have that on a hotkey to 0. Nope. So that's at 0, and then we've got 25 seconds there for this first initial melody. And I think that's working quite well. So instead of re-articulating the note, what I actually did was I used the expression to make it sound like to emphasize that note again. So we've got the clarinets doing that. I think it might be nice if, in order to emphasize this first downbeat here on the give me G, and it's funny, it's the note G, but it's the G as in Jesus. So I'm gonna have another instrument come in there and I think try to do some harmony. In this situation, I actually have a harmony line. So if I'm not terrible at sight reading, we can probably just do that. The interesting part is the range that we're in right now might not be perfect for this. So instead of, because we have clarinet, and I want the melody to be probably beneath it, and then I'll come up with a harmony on top of it. If we're going beneath it, let's see how it'll work with bassoons. I don't love this idea, but let's just go for it. Let's try. All right, hang on. That is a G7, so that's an F natural. We are in C, Jacob, not G major. Yeah, okay, let's just try it again. Not loving this. So instead of following this, I'm actually just going to do some chordal texture stuff myself and outline it that way. So I'm going to just play around with my ear and we'll see how it goes the first time through. So I don't love all of that, but some of it was getting somewhere. Right, because that's a 6th chord, and so we're on the 5th there, which is not ideal. Or I'm sorry, not a 6th chord. It is a 6th chord. We're in C, Jacob. So it's okay. If we do it though, I think we gotta. So moving quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna take note of what we're looking at here. So you may have all this world. Let's go with those chords. I like those chords. So so there's gonna be an E major to an A minor. So you may have, and the last note that I did was an F. So this is gonna be kind of spicy for, I'm actually gonna bring the bassoons now to the root notes. And right here, as I have the bassoons go down to the root notes, I'm going to have another voice come in and take the other harmonic texture that we were doing. So, this is tricky. I keep miscounting my measures. Not a bad start. I don't love it. It sounds a little unmusical to me. For now, I'm going to just go ahead and quantize that though and get everything in. By the way, if you'll notice, I have my negative track delays set up, so I don't have to be not quantizing. For some of this, I'm going to quantize, some of it I'm not. So let's just listen to where we are now. Yeah, I wanted to try a leading tone there, but it might be easier just. I don't want that to be there. I'd rather it go up. And then I don't like how these are not super connected. So again, I'm just on legato patches here. And then I think on the halfway through, I'm going to go ahead and have our flutes come in. I'm not going to use solo flutes. I'm going to use 3 flutes. Just because I think I want that bigger sound right now. So let's just go for it. Oh, wrong range. Yeah, okay. I think I'm going to come in on half. And actually, our melody's on C, and so I think I should come in on the 5th of the chord above that. Ah, see, I don't like my flutes. Not my favorite sound for that, actually. I wonder if oboe might be a better color here. You know, it would be interesting, actually, if I ended up repeating this. And so if I end up repeating it and I do like a whole minute of music here instead of just like 30 seconds. So that's right about a minute. So if we do a repeat, I'll keep the melody there probably. On this version, I'll up the velocity a little bit. This is quick mock-up, by the way. We're not doing super detailed mock-up, but let's just keep these. Yeah, something like that. And then, so let's just go ahead. I think it might be easier if we build this second half instead, because I'm going to use the strings to outline the chordal structure. So on this, I'm gonna start with my basses to just really settle it. So we're gonna go give me, and we're gonna get those bass notes right from the get-go, right? So. Don't love those chords. So I don't love that passing chord in my basses, so I'm not going to do the passing chord in the basses. I'm just going to do the very straightforward version. Messes me up every time. And actually, if I'm gonna go to T-Do on that, walking the chords. So I'm sitting on the 5, 5, 7, 6, 5/7 as a passing chord to the 1, which is actually not a real 1 because it's a dominant 1 according to this chart, but my chord structure is not going to be exactly identical. Yeah, not perfect, but we're getting there. It's starting to sound like something for sure. I don't know what this is. That's my other thing I recorded, so let me keep that there. So let's listen. This note feels wrong to me, so it needs to be ascending into that. And actually, I can probably go ahead and quantize all of these because my negative track delays are correct. Yeah, I don't like this low C, so I'm gonna have it do that. And I don't like sitting on, or I don't like this rapid change here. Let me listen to this ending part real quick. Yeah, I want something going up to that D. And specifically, it is a D7 according to the chart. We probably won't keep it that way. But I think we could do like a coming from the top thing. Maybe if I do it just on the very last, we'll see. If I was actually playing this as a bass player though, I would probably give it a C natural realistically. I don't love that though, because it's on the same note as the melody. Yeah, that's okay. I need that legato to actually trigger. Yeah. And I think my modulation there is not working the way I want it to, so. Something like that. Let's listen. See that. It's a little too much. Yeah, this is kind of a sensitive, actually, I'm just gonna, now that I have that in, this is programming for you, I'm gonna actually just play it in with the mod wheel instead. I don't love that. I don't love how it's programming, to be honest with you. So it sounds slightly unrealistic to me. So I'll work through that as we go, but we have the core structure. So with that in mind, I'm actually going to, for ease, I'm going to double that for the cello and then just move the entire thing up a fifth. This is going to be a really standard, straightforward thing to do. So start it there. And then the only thing I really need to check out for is if any of these are so spicy that they don't work. I don't need the same passing notes. So I'm going to get rid of the passing notes. So that's it's a G7. So if I do the G7, I have to go to the F natural there, and then run a C, yep, B over that, and then E. Yeah, don't love my part writing on this, so I may end up changing some things, but probably not. And then this is going to the D chord, so I'm probably not going to do anything there. Let me think. It's an A minor going to a D chord. That's tricky. I would actually prefer, but I don't have that A, right? Okay. It actually might be better if the cellos did the movement there instead of the basses, but we shall see. Everything else should be fine. So let's just listen to it. Don't perfectly love it still. Yeah, I don't love it. So I'm actually gonna play it in instead and not do any of the moving notes. I'm just gonna do the fifth of the chord here. So if I'm on the cello, I'm gonna do it on the higher octave in this situation, I think. You see how good part writing just makes everything beautiful? I just did the fewest movements possible in that. And that's going to work out nicely, I think. So what I'm going to do now is if I want brass here, I'm going to go ahead and move over to the brass and probably have my tuba, I'm starting with the low notes here, probably have my tuba doubling what the bass is doing. Maybe an octave up, maybe not, but I'm just going to stick with roots and we'll see how this goes. Where do I want this? Yeah, so that's in between where the cello was and the bass. So it would be going bass, tuba, cello. You know what I'm really not liking actually is the commitment to the 4 at the end. In contemporary church world, we do more like cesses instead of a real 4. So I'm gonna do that instead. I think that's gonna work out better. Yeah, I think that's working out slightly better. Where's my tuba? This is one of the downsides of having a million tracks is you gotta do stuff like that. But that's why I color coordinate everything. I'm just gonna leave it. And I'm gonna make sure all of these end right on there, right at the end of that, just so that it is truly like the cutoff is the same and the reverb tails, once I get the reverb in here, there's already a little bit of reverb, but when I get the real reverb in here, it'll be right on the money. Okay, so we've got a little bit of brass. Let's go ahead and just make this, let's use everything. So what should we do? Let's go ahead and do our first violins, I think. And maybe we don't, or maybe we do our violas. And maybe we don't, maybe we don't do just legato everything. So maybe we, what if I did like a, the violas and the middle voices sort of doubling the melody? Let's try something like that. Let me get a click on for myself. Okay. It's really tricky to play that in time. So what I want to do is sort of add some inner notes. So that is tricky. Because I don't necessarily want it to be. So here, y'all are working through this with me. So I'm gonna do a step input thing and just see how eighth notes sound here. If I'm on this G chord and I just do, oh, wrong. I need to be on pits. Right, but not eighth notes. I think I need well, let's just try. It's actually not bad. I think on the last one we need to go down to E and then A. Yeah. And then the next chord is the one thing I'm considering is if we want to do 16th notes basically instead of that. And that's what I thought. That was inputting on quarter notes. I'm like, I'm not stupid. I know what eighth notes sound like. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so so I'm just emphasizing the chord here with the third. So it's root third, root third, root third. And then I can actually get spicier because I can emphasize this is a dominant 7. So now I can do the FB, the tritone if I want. Part of that might not work, down to the E, A, E, A, E, A, D, G, C, G, C, G. Then we're gonna have to go up to, let's get this G sharp in here. I'm just following a literal chord chart, and I'm using as much similar motion as possible. Something like this. I like this. I want on the last one, I actually want these to be quarter notes instead. So G, C, E, G, C. Actually, there's a really easy way to do this in Cubase where you can. So I'm going to cut off that last note and then double the length, I think. So let me listen to that. Yeah, but then I don't get my last hit, so I think I'll just keep it the way it was. So then here, gluing all that together, I actually think that worked actually very nicely. We'll find out if it really worked nicely or not once I put it an octave higher in the violin twos. Yeah, the F and the B is working for like 2 seconds to be spicy. So what I might try instead is F. Put us in this sort of weird thing, so. And then there's a walk down there on A and G. So I might just end up doubling that melody for a second on those quarter notes. So this would be A, technically, and that would be G. So because I did that, and I want this in the violas, which was the primary thing, taking all of this, highlighting all, moving it all down like that. Yeah, a little bit of spice in that. Because there's a little bit of spice in it, what I'm recognizing is I actually want to emphasize that spice a little bit more. So like here, instead of D and G, let's do D and F to emphasize that 7. And then here, when this is a C chord, for 2 seconds, so there's technically a B flat in this. So I wonder if we can that would be spicy. And then so the E major chord we already spiced with the G sharp, and then there is an A. Let's just go, maybe we add a 7, right? So instead of just that, maybe we do like a G up here. Maybe one down there. And this is all totally playable by a string. Yeah, that's pretty. And then on the D7 chord, which is right here, let's see if we can do that same thing we did before. Let's bring it back down to the A, I think. Yep. And then from there, we are on the G chord, which we could theoretically make a 7 if we wanted. Maybe do it just for fun. And then we're on a C, and then an F, which I'm really counting as a 1 sus in that. So I did all those. I can hear the notes better on this violin too, so I'm just gonna put that in the violas and then take everything here, bring an octave down. Yeah. I think I want to, for both of these, I want to duplicate them and then put that last C again, maybe a little bit stronger for both of them. So I'm just going to go to the velocity and raise it up a little bit. Yeah, something like that.